Hello, hello, and welcome to the MindMesh podcast. My name's Chayton.
And I am Fish.
And this is a podcast talking all about those shower thoughts, talking about those internet rabbit holes that you find and you can't find anyone to talk to. Well,
So you have us.
Yeah, so you have us. We're the people you can talk to. But, so this is a part 2 from last week's episode.
Yes, because
we ran over time.
We didn't realize how much we would rant over video games.
Oh, you mean how much I would rant over childhood video games? You asked me the question, and then for like 30 minutes, I talked about childhood video games, not realizing, oh, this is Fisher's segment. We should probably allow him to speak. So for the first part of this episode, it's almost a weird crossover event. It's a weird continuation, but I like that. I like the fact that we can do that in a sense where if we know we're going to have a large topic, now we know we can either make it a part A and B, or we can make it a part A, B, and then B2 for the next episode.
Let's not do that. Because
why? What's wrong with doing that, huh?
You're going to confuse the audience, and then they're not going to watch because they don't know which episode is what.
That's not true. I labeled them clearly. Episode 1 through 7 was a grand old time, and welcome to episode 8, where we're about to talk about Fisher's favorite childhood video games. Fisher, take it away. What was your first console?
First console, handheld or home console?
Both. I gave both. And I'm thinking about how you were saying like a lot of your favorite childhood video games was Flash games. So I don't know if that
I mean, they weren't my favorite games, but they were just a very memorable part of my childhood. Some of my favorite video games as a kid, though, I go back to the PS2 because that was my first home console.
Yeah.
Some of them, one of them in particular would be Sonic Heroes, which is the game where it came after...
Sonic Heroes was like the precursor to the Sonic Adventure series, if I remember correctly.
I think it's after Sonic Adventure.
So it's Sonic Adventure, Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventures 2?
I think it's Sonic Adventures 2, then Sonic Heroes.
Oh, it's after the Sonic Adventures series.
Yeah.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes, because they added the trio system, and that was like a big deal, I believe.
Why is it?
Because
I don't remember.
That was the whole point of that game, is that you had like different teams. So like you had like the Sonic team.
They do that with Mario and stuff like that, but then they just take those aspects away.
Yeah.
So are we sure it wasn't specifically for that game and then Sonic Adventure happened and then they decided to take that? I'm going to look it up.
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
I'll describe Sonic Heroes for you though. Sonic Heroes was a Sonic game. It was kind of like Sonic Adventure where it was a 3D platformer for Sonic, but you had like this team-based system where you could switch in between different characters. You would have like a flying character, a power character, and of course like a speed character.
Yeah.
And then you had the Sonic team, which is of course Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. Then you had the Shadow team, which had that robot dude, and then Rouge the Bat. And then I can't remember the other teams. One had Amy. I can't remember the other girl's name that hung out with her a lot. Not
Rouge
Rouge.
the Bat. Cream the Rabbit.
Cream the Rabbit. It was Amy, Cream, and Biggs the Cat. And then the last team was you were correct. It was Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure DX, and then Sonic Heroes. Okay, so it was after Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, it's weird because I remember Sonic Heroes looking so much worse than Sonic Adventure, and for whatever reason in my brain. I don't know why.
I mean, it probably did look worse.
In the budget, since you had 3 playable characters, the polygon count on Sonic went pretty low.
But I remember that game fondly. I couldn't beat it for whatever reason.
Well, I feel like a lot of it's the same argument that people make nowadays when it comes to like Mega Man. Like a lot of people that were super good as Mega Man as a kid were like the best at playing video games because no one could beat Mega Man.
Yeah.
And now those same players like are talking about how people like us that couldn't complete Sonic Heroes. Oh, if you couldn't complete Sonic Heroes, there's no way you could have completed Mega Man. Because it was just like this. Because we could also say the same about kids nowadays. Like games in the past were just harder in general.
Oh yeah,
like, they were less
it
forgiving.
Seems like it gets. Well, I don't know. You have these games now that are like the online games like Fortnite and shit that do have a significant difficulty spike.
Skills, a significant skill differential.
Yeah.
And no, I agree with that, but I'm thinking like,
but if you're talking about
games back in the day, like Sonic Heroes, did Sonic Heroes have a difficulty setting?
I can't remember. Well, I think it was depending on the team you played, which each team was a different difficulty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or was it the fact that like you could choose your own team per stage and there was a certain team that was just better at said stage?
No, each team had a different storyline.
Oh, okay. So it was like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Kinda.
Like you could choose
Sonic
your own.
06.
Yeah, no, Sonic 06 was like a weird like Mario Galaxy-esque thing where you got to choose what level you went to. Or no.
I didn't know if that's what you were talking about. Which Sonic game were you talking about?
I'm thinking about Shadow the Hedgehog, where like depending on if you were good or bad in the story was what storyline you got put on.
Oh yeah. It wasn't like that per se, but it was just like if you chose the Shadow team, they had their own like storyline that involved everything, and then if you chose Sonic, they had their own storyline.
Well, that's kind of weird if they
but they all intersected. Like they were all doing things at the same time. You're just seeing different sides of the story.
Yeah. It's still kind of weird if they if based on what team you chose, it was the difficulty.
Yeah, because I never beat this. I never beat the game as Sonic. But
are you sure it wasn't the team mechanics that made it difficult for you and not the difficulty?
Well, each team played the same. They had the speed character, flying character, and the power character.
Maybe that was just bad game design.
Because I beat the game as Amy and Biggs the Cream and Biggs the Cat, but I couldn't beat it as Sonic or Shadow or the other team. That it had the alligator, the bumblebee, and the purple whatever chameleon. Yeah, no, I wonder if it was just the case of like it wasn't that it was harder, it was that the game realized that you had already played one team, so it made the difficulty harder. I'm wondering like if you had the save file where you played as one team and then you erased it and then played as a separate team, if it would have been easier on you. And the reason that the difficulty was spiking was because you had already finished one storyline. I wonder.
I feel like because there's a lot of
first one you
it's like
play.
New Game. It's like New Game Plus in a sense.
Well, I mean, the first one you play I remember the loading screen like vividly.
Yeah.
Of like choosing the teams. It was the Sonic team, the Shadow team, Amy's team, and then the Chameleon team.
Yeah.
But Amy's was the easiest, and that was the one I was actually able to beat as a kid. I wasn't able to beat any of the other ones.
Wait, so you were able to switch teams at any time?
Whenever you loaded on the game, you could play through a certain storyline and progress so far. But like when you played on another team, you would start either at the beginning if you hadn't played it or wherever you left off.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of like a Sonic Adventure 3 or whatever. Whenever they introduced Knuckles no, I think it was Sonic Adventure 3 because you could actually pick to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Cream, and you like were able to unlock said characters the more Chaos Emeralds you had or something like that.
Yeah.
But they all played differently and they were all harder based on which one you chose to play as. But that was also based more on the stage and how it was designed. Similar how when Sonic Mania came out, it if you chose Knuckles to play as Knuckles, it was the level design was completely different than if you were playing as Sonic or Tails.
Yeah.
But it does make me question because like Mega Man was just a hard game. Like old classic NES, SNES games, they were just hard. They were ruthless. Like it was those kind of games, not similar to Dark Souls, but in the sense of like if you died in game and you had no lives left,
you started over.
You started the entire game over. And like games were just harder back in the day and they got more and more lenient. And I really do wonder if like, yeah, you tried to play like the Sonic story, the Shadow story and I forget his name, the Chameleon story. Yeah. Like you try to play those and just because of the level design, it felt harder to you than like the Amy storyline. And because of that, you got farther in the Amy storyline, but because you did that, it made all the other ones that you already found harder.
I get you. I get what you're saying.
I wonder if that was like built into the code of the game or whatever. So we talked about Sonic Heroes. Oh my goodness. Would you rather switch over to a handheld
Yeah,
game?
we'll go to a handheld game.
Do you want to do what I did, where I started with all my console favorites and I switched over to handheld?
We'll go back and forth.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. I'm okay with that.
I need your help though, because I don't have my phone on me to give you the correct title. It's a Kirby game on the Game Boy.
It's time to research Kirby's Dream Land.
It's Kirby and the Amazing Mirror or something like that, or some magic mirror or something like that.
It's Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. You are correctly right.
Oh.
Does this look like the box art?
Yep, that's it exactly. That was one of my favorite games as a child.
And we've actually talked about this before with Kirby, because isn't one of our friends also a big Kirby fan?
I believe so.
I was never able to get into Kirby. I don't think I've ever owned a single Kirby game. It's never interested me in the times that I have played Kirby games.
I had a friend that had the same game before I had it, and he was showing me how to play it. And then just one of the monsters that you could suck in and then get the powers of was this like wheel thing.
That's my favorite one too.
And you could roll around, and I was like, that is so fucking cool. And then that convinced me to get the game, and I just played the shit out of it.
Like I loved Kirby games for the sole fact that I loved the copy ability that Kirby had.
Oh yeah.
The problem was the rest of the game. It was so floaty and like monodical and just so repetitive.
I get you.
That I just couldn't get into it.
I mean, I don't know if I could enjoy the game as much now, but as a kid, I was definitely super into it.
Oh yeah, no, I'll go back to games that I played as a kid that I like remember enjoying. And I'm just like, how?
That could be a podcast of its own. Because there are plenty of games
that you love that you hate now.
Oh yeah.
I do. Most of those are every GameCube game that I own that wasn't Mario Kart Double Dash and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Everything else I was not a big fan.
That is everything I owned, but like, I don't know, maybe like Sonic Heroes. I mentioned this in the last podcast. Sonic Riders.
Yeah.
And then another game I really liked was Lego Star Wars.
Oh yeah, no,
the original Lego Star Wars and the I'll put these two together and the Lego Indiana Jones. Just those two Lego games.
See, I never owned them on consoles. I owned the complete sagas of both games on the DS.
Oh,
but they were still 3D.
So they played just the same.
Yeah, they played the exact same, except you had the cool like bottom screen HUD where you could like
change characters.
Yeah, change characters and do like special items and stuff like that. Yeah, no. But anyways, back to Kirby. So why did you, besides the fucking wheel, like why did you like Kirby games? Because I've always tried to, like every time I've ever talked to anyone that actually liked Kirby games as a kid, I've tried to understand why. Because like besides the whole copy swap ability type deal that Kirby has, I've always just found the game super slow.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I never played any Mario games as a kid. I didn't have exposure to that. And then as far as
maybe
Sonic,
that's why you just never played a good side scroller.
Well, yeah, maybe not. I wouldn't say good because I really enjoy this. I still kind of enjoy this Kirby game. I've gone back and played it.
Well, that's my thing. Is like I grew up playing like Mario games, which when compared to Kirby games, besides the copy ability, which I mean Mario kind of has with all the power ups.
Yeah,
Mario to me just seems so much more about being fast and precise.
No, I get you.
But it's weird because it's like Mario's the perfect middle for me because Kirby felt too slow and I didn't feel like the power-ups were cool and the power-ups were so much more vastly arrayed than Mario. But because of the slowness of the platforming itself and just the floatiness of it, I didn't like.
Yeah.
But then old Sonic games are on the exact opposite spectrum of it where there were no power-ups or the power-ups didn't do much besides make you invincible or give you a lot of coins. Yeah. And it was so blazingly fast that you didn't have time to focus on precision.
Well, that's what I was going to say is even like I was talking about Sonic games. I didn't play a 2D Sonic game until after I played this Kirby game, I believe.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the reason I love this Kirby game so much was because it was my first 2D like side scroller game.
Yeah. So you did, yeah. No, I completely understand that. I still have like soft spots in my heart for the first video games that I play, even though they're not my favorite.
Yeah.
I can still go back and just appreciate them for what they did to me as a person.
Yeah, what they exposed you to, like the kind of games they exposed you to.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I love Sonic Mania, and I love like all the Game Boy. I guess there would be ports from the Genesis of like Sonic Adventure and all those.
I love the like 2D Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, I love those. The 3D ones, a bit iffy. Sonic Riders is the only good 3D Sonic. That's not true.
Sonic
Generations
Shadow
was okay.
the Hedgehog was. Oh, I really liked Generations on the 3DS. I don't know how it played on anything else.
I only like Sonic Generations for the 2D Sonic, which is bad to say, but it's like I've always been a huge fan of the formula of 2D Sonic.
I am too.
And it's just sad to me that like 3D Sonic's gotten like a bad rap. And the only reason that they did 3D Sonic was the sole fact that Nintendo did Mario 64.
I just
so then Sega was like, oh no, we gotta do that too with our mascot. So then they started trying to do it with Sonic, but Sonic's formula doesn't work all that well in a 3D space.
I feel like a lot of it's just rushed out due to like trying to compete with with Mario.
Yeah, no. Well, when you think about it,
it's just like put more time into it, and I feel like it could really work. Well, like a 3D Sonic game.
When you think about it, the reason Mario worked from going to 2D to 3D is the sole fact that Mario has a world per se, and that world can be expanded to 3D. When you think of like going from Super Mario to Mario 64, they took those flat planes that Mario was on and they made them into a globe in a sense. They made it into a vast Zelda-esque, Breath of the Wild-esque plane.
Yeah,
where you had you had all these little like kind of sections of these worlds that you could go to. In Mario 64, they were through paintings. In Mario Sunshine, I think it was also through paintings or something like that. I don't actually remember.
I haven't played any Mario game besides Odyssey.
With Odyssey, it was worlds. With Galaxy, it was planets.
Oh, I lied. I'd played Mario Galaxy before.
So it was like the reason I think Mario worked was because they adapted to the ideology that Mario didn't have to be on one track, that he could be in a free-forming 3D world. Where with Sonic, they decided, let's make this 2D and change the camera perspective to where it's third person, but you're still on a straight track.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's always been my problem with 3D Sonic games, is that they're not 3D. If you change the camera's perspective to be to the side, you're playing a 2D Sonic game now.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was always like my big thing. And even though like they do move left and right in a sense, the track's moving left and right. And if you turn it 2D, it would just create the sense of 3D, because then Sonic's going on a loop-de-loop, but now Sonic's slightly smaller and you can fit more into the frame because he's farther back in the Z-axis. So I think that was always the main problem when it came to Sonic being adapted to 3D, was that they didn't utilize the 3D in any aspect besides making the camera behind Sonic.
That's true. I mean, you just had the enemies left and right. Straight up ahead of them.
Exactly. They didn't expand upon it. They just kind of limited themselves. But anyways, I love talking video games. Video games is like one of my favorite topics to talk about.
And look, let's see. I mentioned Lego Star Wars, and that was going to be another one that I mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Because as a kid, I played the
I love
that game.
I replayed Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga too many times because like I'm a huge fan of collectathons. Like I'm the kind of person that like if I'm playing Mario Brothers, I have to get every coin. For me, there were so many characters to unlock, so many sets to build, there was so much to do in Lego games.
Oh yeah,
that it felt like. Still to this day, I love buying a Lego set and building Legos.
Oh, I love building Legos to this day as well.
So it's like having that in video game form where there's less mess, but it's still a like collect a build-a-thon. I'm just like, yeah, I can do that.
And just finding all those like little things to build the thing finding
the stage that you can replay over and over that will get you the most studs, so that way you can buy new characters to play that level over and over as new characters. There's just Lego games.
That
Lego games are very smart, and I think they're actually aren't they about to re-release all of like the Star Wars complete saga, but with the new trilogy added on as well?
Yeah, they're about to re-release it for the.
But they're also
third
it's
time.
almost like it's almost like a remaster though, because aren't they going back to the original saga and actually adding in voice dialogue like they're doing with the new Star Wars games?
I can't remember if they
Or
are
not
or
new Star Wars game, but the new Lego games, because they
Yeah.
started that with like DC and the DC Lego universe or whatever, where they actually added.
I played Lego Batman on the PSP as a kid too. That wasn't a game I was going to talk about, but that was also just a really fun game.
Lego is
Lego had some really fun games.
as soon as Lego actually got the permission to use properties, Lego games got really good.
Oh yeah.
Like there's what was it? There was one that was on like the PC back in the day. It was like the first Lego game, and it was like first person, and it was absolutely god awful.
There was some Game Boy Lego game I had as a child that was just like you were in this Lego city.
Yeah, no, but as soon as Lego got access to properties,
it got good.
And then when Minecraft got really good, they made Lego Worlds or whatever, where it was like a big open world sandbox game where you literally just built with like digital Legos.
Wait, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, no, it is a thing. It was like a weird Minecraft clone-esque thing. It was
actually Legos instead of Minecraft.
Yeah, it was before the Lego movie released.
Huh.
And it wasn't tied to the Lego movie at all. I just know it was released before. And I don't know if it's actually still getting support or not. I just remember I watched videos about it. I was like, oh, this is cool, but there's absolutely 0 point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when Minecraft's so popular.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just the fact that, like, even though the game, like, if you traveled around, you would run into enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, like, there was no... The crafting system was just placing down Legos.
There was nothing else to
like, it felt like even though there was, like, aspects to the game to play, it wasn't a playable game.
No, I get you.
So, yeah, no, like... That one was a weird venture, and I do wonder if it's still getting updates and stuff like that.
The last game I want to talk about, I'm saving for
last game
because
you're only giving me the top 3.
I gave you one last episode.
Yeah, but you just said we can't do that because it'll confuse the audience. What was it? Because I don't even remember.
No, I talked about Sonic Riders last episode.
Oh, Sonic. Okay, yeah, Sonic.
But that wasn't the video game I was mentioning. The video game I'm mentioning, like similar to yours, is a Pokemon game.
Yeah, except
it is a main title game.
A good one in his eyes.
Well, I'm not saying yours is bad, but this was my favorite. My favorite game was Pokemon Emerald.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeons is better. I don't care what you say. I love Pokemon Emerald. It was also my first Pokemon game. But I literally played through Emerald probably because I played through it. I know at least 3 times because I wanted to play. Or no, I didn't play through Emerald 3 times. I had all 3. I had Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And for each of those games, I started off with the starter based on the color of the cartridge. So for Ruby, I started with Torchic. For Sapphire, I started with good old yeah. And then for Emerald, I started with Trico. And not gonna lie, out of those 3 starters, I think Trico is my favorite.
Trico is my favorite starter.
You never hear anyone say Trico.
Trico is one of my favorite starters.
Like in order, I probably would put it Trico, Mudkip, Torchic. I love Torchic. I love Blaziken. But like the journey I went on with Trico and Mudkip, I found so much more vastly appealing than my journey with Torchic.
Picking Trico as a starter, man, is hard.
Oh yeah, no, Trico is the hardest, most grueling process you can go through.
I did not realize that as a child.
But as soon as you get to Sceptile, it's just like, this is what I've been working towards. Yep. And I've never
that solar beam.
I rarely play with the grass starter.
But, I almost always play with the grass
the thing
starter.
is that every time that I've gone back and like grass starter's never been my first choice, is what I meant to say. But when I do play with a grass starter, nothing has ever beaten that experience as with Trico. Nothing.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like that game was hard as a grass starter. as a grass starter because all the gyms were like hard
also,
on grass.
You also just had a lot to do post game too. You had like the whole battle frontier and whatnot, and then catching Latios and Latias.
Well, I'll say this: I caught Latios and Latios. I never to this day understood how the battle frontier worked.
I played a little bit of it. I never beat it.
No, exactly. I kept walking around, entering into the battle frontier, and I don't think I ever completed a single one. I never understood what the actual purpose was because it just seemed like a giant crawl where it was trainer after trainer after trainer. And I remember looking it up at the time because my family had like a Windows XP desktop. I remember like looking it up and trying to figure it out. And for whatever reason, I remember it being like you have to defeat 100 trainers in the road to actually defeat the main person of the battle frontier. And you had to do that for every single battle frontier. And I was like, bro, I ain't doing that. I ain't defeating 99 trainers just so I can fight the gym leader. That ain't right. That's dumb.
That's stupid.
So I never did the battle frontier, but I will agree. 3rd gen, is it my favorite?
I would say
I think it's my favorite just because it was my first, which is funny because I love 2nd gen the most, and I've never played 2nd gen.
I love I love 4th gen too. 4th gen's really great.
But anyways, what I would like to say is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is the best, and we'll see you after this ad read. Look, Fish, I need to know something. I need to know. Have you heard?
Yeah.
You have? Are you sure?
Possibly. You can tell me though.
Have you heard of Anchor?
Like the thing that's on like boats?
No. Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. I'll let you explain. You said you knew about it.
Oh yeah. I remember now.
Okay.
It's free.
It's free?
Yeah, there's
like absolutely free. No charge.
No charge.
Uh-huh.
There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer.
Wait, phone? You can just pull out your phone
and edit your podcast right from it. And
that's wild. That's absolutely wild. What else does it do?
Well, you can distribute your podcast, or Anchor will distribute your podcast for you.
Where?
So it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else. Many more.
Wait, so like Google Podcasts and all of those, you can hear it using Anchor? Oh my, really? What else do they do?
You can make money from your own podcast with no minimum listenership.
No minimum listenership? Are you kidding
man.
me? You can just make money from making a podcast? I didn't know you could do that.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Wait, so you're telling me that if our listeners want to make a podcast, all they have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and get started and make their own podcast?
Yes, that's all they have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
That's absolutely wild. What a great steal.
What a great steal.
Welcome back, one and all. I hope you enjoyed that fantastic ad read that me and Fisher performed.
Yep. It wasn't the same one as always.
Well, yeah, it definitely was the same one as always. But what I was gonna say is, just to segue into this a little bit. We, of course, for the past 2 segments, if you're what is it, binging our podcast episodes, we've been talking about video games, and I would just like to talk about the evolution of technology in video games, because I'm a big, you can call me a computer geek of sorts. I'm a big technology person. Ever since I was a kid, a tinkerer, if you will. I think that's a better term.
Yeah.
I've always been the person to take apart a piece of technology, figure out how it works, and then put it back together. So I was always the kid that would take apart my electronic toys and rip out the wiring and be like, I don't know how I broke it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I was always super fascinated in technology and learning how things work. And that's why I learned how to build computers and the aspects of what goes into a computer and figuring out, oh, this piece goes there and that's why it works. This is the coding that makes this work. And I find it so fascinating. The console wars.
Yeah.
The console wars are amazing to me to follow, and just in general the evolution of technology when it came to console gaming. Because when you think now, the console wars are still, I wouldn't say prevalent. Like they're not super focused on. They're not as cutthroat as they used to be.
I mean, it seems like if anything now they're finally learning how to work with each other.
Yeah, no,
it's less of a competition.
The console wars have ended. The bloodshed has been shed. They're finally signing the treaty to being like, you know what, we can be one great nation again.
And cross-platform, and people can play with each other.
Yeah, everyone can play with everyone, no matter what platform you're on. It's a beautiful thing. We have truly hit the gaming renaissance. But let's go back to the 32-bit era, where the Sega Genesis and the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo system were battling it out. Because man, oh man, they had the new chips. They had the 32-bit graphical processing units, and man, was Sonic fast. I just like because of course we both didn't grow up in that era.
Oh yeah,
I played a SNES. I played a NES. One of my close friends back in like elementary school had one. But we grew up in the era of the original Xbox, PS2, GameCube.
Yeah,
that was our little generation. Not to like, you know,
date ourselves.
Yeah, not to age ourselves, being us our young, handsome, strapping selves that we are right now. But I remember growing up, and once I did get a computer and I could like research into consoles, watching the ads for like old 32-bit, 64-bit consoles was just a blast.
Oh yeah.
God, if they weren't the most 80s, 90s thing I've ever done seen.
Do you remember the old ads on VHSs of like Pokemon movies?
No. The most old school ad for video games I remember vividly was it the Sega Jaguar? I don't remember. But it was a Sega console, and they were like in a math class. And they were like adding up 32-bit plus 32-bit equals 64-bit. And they were like adding up why the Genesis was better than the SNES. Or not the Genesis. Maybe it was the Mega Drive. I don't remember. One of the Sega consoles before it died.
Yeah.
That's the one I remember because I just remember it being so... It was like this super mundane, boring classroom, but somehow it felt rock and roll.
No, I get you.
But no, I don't remember any VHS...
There's this Pokemon commercial I remember vividly of like all these Pokemon getting on a bus.
What the
And there was this bus driver there, and I can't remember.
Was it Mr. Mime?
I wish I could watch this commercial right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it was advertising the game. It might have been advertising the show. It was advertising something about Pokemon. But it just felt so 90s.
That just reminds me of it was a GameCube game that I rented from good old Blockbuster called the Pokemon Channel or something like that. It was the first off-brand Pokemon game I ever played because I had played Emerald and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, a GameCube Pokemon game? It wasn't even like Pokemon Coliseum. It was the Pokemon Channel, where literally it was like a life sim where you found this abandoned Pikachu and all it liked to do was watch TV. And you would watch TV with it, and there were just these random like animated shorts that the Pokemon company had made to play on said TV, and that was the game.
You would just watch stuff.
Yeah, you would just watch Pokemon commercials. That was it. That was the game.
That was the game. That's amazing.
I feel like there was more to the game, but to little like 10-year-old me, I couldn't figure out how to play the rest of it. It was like what was it? It was an N64 game where it came with a microphone that you would plug into the top of the controller, and you would be able to speak to Pikachu, and Pikachu would like react to you. Or maybe it was Pokemon Snap. No, it was Pokemon Snap. It was another. I don't remember. It was an N64 game. I remember that much, and you would be able to be like,
was it Hey You Pikachu?
Is that the title of the game? Or maybe it is, because I'm pretty sure you had to say Hey You Pikachu and then say something. Hey you. Oh, yep, that's it. Hey You Pikachu.
Was I right?
Yeah, you were right.
Cool.
So it was like it was almost like a quasi sequel to that. Cause it felt very similar, even though I'd never played that. Like just watching videos of Hey You Pikachu.
Yeah.
It was the same, except you didn't have a microphone. You just had to press buttons, and like you had certain buttons like called them over, and like you could go outside and play with them and stuff like that. But the main source of entertainment from the game was literally watching Pikachu watch TV, and you would watch TV.
You know,
and I remember returning it to Blockbuster and being like, I'm never renting that again. But now, as an adult, I wish I still had the game. Because I want to solve the mystery of it.
I kind of want to go back and look at that game. But something kind of similar to this topic, or it's very on topic, and I want to ask you about this.
Yeah.
I find it very interesting that originally the console wars, and of course the two companies I'm about to mention, weren't around in this time.
Yeah.
In this earlier time.
Sony and Microsoft?
Yeah. I find it interesting that originally it was like Sega and Genesis, and then like Sega
and Nintendo.
Yeah, it might be.
It was the Sega Genesis and the SNES, yes.
Sega and Nintendo were fighting, and then finally Sega died out, and then when Sony and Microsoft became big, like that became the console wars.
No, you're missing a very crucial step.
What am I missing?
The original PlayStation was a Nintendo console.
Oh, yeah.
Sony and Nintendo had partnered up to make N64, like the next Nintendo console.
But that would
called the PlayStation, but then Nintendo didn't like it. So Sony went off and made the PlayStation. Nintendo made the GameCube. And then Microsoft came out of the blue and gave the Xbox. Like, Microsoft was the left field. Nintendo and Sony, they made sense. Microsoft was the one that just like was a punch to the gut. No one was like, what? Why is this PC company making a gaming console now?
So like, why is it that when the like 360 came out, I don't know. I always hear the console wars these days between Xbox and PS4. That's what I normally hear. Nintendo's never really involved in it, I don't think.
Well, yeah, because once Nintendo had such success, like they're just seen as they're part of it, but they're almost like a third party, like bystander. Like you want to see them succeed, but like for whatever reason, they're not the main competition anymore. And I think that's just because of Nintendo's an innovator, where Microsoft and Sony are competitors. That's not the way. One's hardware, one's software. That's the best way. Nintendo's all about that hardware. Microsoft and Sony's all about that software.
I get what you're saying.
And so it's like currently in the current console wars, you have the Xbox One and the PS4. Two consoles that have a ton of good hardware, and they prowess the games and the graphical performance of the software that these consoles can produce. And then you had the Nintendo Switch. One that's all about the hardware. No, it's not as powerful. No, it can't play like games at the top of the settings in 4K 60 FPS. But you can take the console out of the console. You can take the console out of the console itself and play handheld. Oh, you want to play with people? Take the controllers off the side of the goddamn console. Yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's like Nintendo's always been kind of like innovation hardware forward, whereas Sony and Microsoft have always been innovation software forward.
Do you think that's where gaming's gonna go? Do you think like home consoles are gonna be like these dual like take it with you / home consoles? Do you think that eventually that Sony and Microsoft might start copying that in a sense?
Because the phones in our pockets nowadays are now equally as powerful as the PlayStation 3 and the original Xbox.
So once you can fit the hardware
I think once the hardware is small enough to be able to fit into something handheld, I think it will happen eventually. But I think the main shift that's happening right now is because the internet is growing so fast, it's evolving so fast, it's expanding so fast. And I mean, we've seen this. They've said it in their press conferences.
Yeah.
We're going to the cloud. Everything's going to be streamed. You won't have to worry about downloading a game. You won't have to worry about any of that. You'll just have to worry about
you'll get a subscription.
Yeah, you'll have to worry about paying the subscription or paying the fee to play the game for however long.
And then play it.
It's just there.
It's almost like bringing the arcade back, but like just you have it
in your home.
Yeah, you have an arcade in your home.
Yeah, no,
you pay a fee to play this game for so long.
And I think that's the route that it's going to go. And I think that's solely because the internet's growing so fast. I think we won't be seeing the Switch be the next like PlayStation 5 for a long time to come. Because the thing is, especially with like computer parts, the stuff that like everything's made out of. Back in like the PS2 to PS3 and the PS3 to the PS4, like those are pretty exponential increases.
Yeah.
The problem is nowadays is that those parts, that exponential increase has kind of stagnated, and the growth isn't 15%, 25%, 30%. Now it's like 1 to 5% every new generation. And that's a very difficult like gap to overcome now. So because this exponential growth is now kind of stagnating to be more steady, like not even steady, just slow growth, I think because of that, now the whole mobile space, handheld space is going to catch up fairly quickly. So I would say that the gap of transferring to TV to hand is probably maybe 10 to 15 years. I think it's going to probably be 2 to 3 generations after this upcoming one where we see that. And I think the main focus for the next 3 generations is going to be more about cloud computing and the cloud itself.
Like just being able to stream games. Because isn't that what like Xbox talked about at E3? Being able to like stream the next your games. Xbox.
Actually, I think it was a few weeks ago that they officially announced the PlayStation 5, and they mentioned nothing about cloud support or anything. They were there. It was more about like the SSD and how it's gonna like improve performance like exponentially. They actually just mentioned that the controller of the PS5 is gonna take away vibration and put in haptic feedback and the ability for programmers to program how sensitive the triggers are and put resistance on the triggers.
Oh, interesting.
And stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. And once again,
so you won't have things like DualShock in your controllers anymore. It'll be
haptic feedback where you're firing the gun, but because the way the character's holding the gun, you only feel it on your right hand or some nonsense like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Sony's kind of going the route of Nintendo in a sense, where yes, they're focusing on software, but now they're also focusing on the hardware and how it feels. Whereas Microsoft is really pushing for that software, where it's like, oh yeah, you gotta buy the console, but that's literally just your streaming box. It's your Roku.
Yeah.
You plug that bad boy into your TV, and it's your Google Stadia. And now all of a sudden, and it makes me wonder because the Xbox One had that Xbox One Special Edition that literally just didn't have a DVD drive. It was the Xbox One Digital.
Oh yeah, where all your games.
Yeah, all your games were just digital, and it just came with a 2 terabyte hard drive or something. It came with a larger hard drive for the expense of not having a disc drive, and it just makes me wonder, like,
if that's what's going to happen.
If that's what the Xbox is going to do with the next Xbox, it's all going to be cloud. You can't get a digital version, and you're going to have to base solely off internet. And I think Sony's playing the smart game, where they're still leaning on, oh yeah, this is still a physical medium, even though digital sales are vastly outperforming physical sales.
Yeah.
I think Sony's playing the smart game because they understand that, like, even though Japan and I forget exactly where the highest internet speeds in the world, but like Japan and them have the highest internet speeds in the world.
I think it might be Korea.
Maybe. Yeah, Korea.
South Korea. Because of the, I think it's because that's why they're so, their esports are so, esports is so prevalent.
But I think it's smart of Sony to realize that not all the world has the greatest internet speeds, like, so evenly distributed.
Yeah.
So I think it's a smart play to still keep the physical media in mind instead of going this whole Xbox, oh, we're going to use cloud computing. But it's also weird because Xbox hasn't said how they're using cloud computing. Because it could be one of those things where you buy the physical disc, you put it in, and based on your internet speed, they're actually streaming the game to the Xbox headquarters and then back to you to make it look better.
Yeah.
So cloud computing is a weird thing. It gets into like supercomputer nonsense, and it's like, I don't know how it works. I wish I knew how it works, but that's leaving the realm of hardware technology and going to the realm of coding and networking, which isn't my forte. It's not my area of expertise.
One more thing. before we end this. You saying that makes me think of like the archival of games, how that's gonna go, because you used to be able to have your favorite game just on a disc or on a cartridge and be able to pop that in years after you played it. And if you have like the streaming stuff now, what happens?
But then you now have made a difference of you don't have to worry about the hardware anymore. As long as those servers are still up, even if the Xbox 3 or whatever comes out, you don't have to worry about the hardware change because it's still the same computers running it. So it almost makes backwards compatibility digital.
Okay.
Like if you think of the new Xbox coming out as a Roku stick, that Roku don't matter. It's what's on the other end of the Roku that matters. So you can connect to any server and still play the same game.
So theoretically, you're saying that like this new Xbox could have a library, and then like say even the next generation, that same library is just now updated with this new Xbox's games.
No, what I'm saying is that Xbox Game Pass, the one where you can stream Xbox games, download them to your console, all that stuff. What I'm saying is that with the next Xbox, even though it's going to have this plethora of new games, because all of those games are run off a server that your new console is going to be connected to, you're still connected.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not going to be updated to have better graphics or anything. What I'm saying is that because it's now a digital medium.
That's essentially what I was saying. I was just saying, really giving the example of next generation and then the generation after that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a smart plan. I think it's the way that games are going, just for the sole fact that it's easier to make things backwards compatible when it's digital. You don't have to worry about, the original PlayStation used old school 32X DVDs, but now we're working on 50 gigabyte Blu-rays that are dual layered, and we're having to use a new laser technology that isn't as stable with old school DVDs and stuff like that. And I mean, that's kind of why I can't say exactly. That's kind of why the newer PS3s ditched the PS2 support, and PS4s had no backwards compatibility whatsoever until PlayStation Now happened. But the switch of like not having to be dependent on hardware to play a game to digital is a smart move, because then you don't have to worry about mechanical failure.
Yeah.
To a greater extent. Because then
because
then with hardware, you don't have to worry about moving parts such as the laser of a disk drive. And you know this with your broken down Xbox One. Yeah. You don't have to worry about that anymore, because now it's worried about the digital fiber optic signal coming through the Ethernet port.
All you have to worry about is having a dead internet.
Yeah, you just have to make sure if that port ever dies that you know how to replace it. But, I'm glad we had this talk.
Me too, man.
I'm glad we had this discussion. I love talking about video games, love talking about technology. That's all this podcast has been.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you so much for listening to the MindMesh podcast. Make sure to join us back every week on Monday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then if you miss it out on the podcast platform, or you just don't use a podcast platform, you can listen to us on YouTube every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you check out MindMesh's Movie Talks, which is released every Friday at 5 p.m. on your favorite podcast platforms, and on YouTube every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. My name's Chayton.
And I'm Fish, and you just heard a robot talk.
Whoa.